Hi, to explain later here, and today we're going to do something a little different. "2017 was a big year for fighting games, from new DLC to full releases of long-awaited titles, with even more games announced to be coming out this year. But before we sit down and play some of these exciting new titles, I wanted to take a video to talk about my personal favorite fighting game characters from 2017. Keep in mind, I am no expert, and this video, much like any top 10, is entirely opinionated. This isn't the final say, it's just my thoughts. Now, with that said, here come some new challengers! Capcom went ambitious with their second season of DLC, introducing newly playable characters following the return of Akuma. Some of them were hits. Others were... yeah. But of the new challengers, my favorite is still the Ice Queen, Kolin. Kolin always felt like the most fully realized of the new characters. Not just story-wise, but gameplay as well. Whereas a lot of them felt like there wasn't much else past their gimmick. Whereas with Kolin, she wasn't just good at one thing. She could counter the opponent, she had both great close-range rushdown and mid-range abilities. She could attack gracefully from the air using an icicle, and that would double as a mobility move. Her V-Trigger's ability to freeze the opponent complements this rushdown playstyle. This all-around fighter quality to her, and the way her moves complement each other, is what I still feel makes her a standout character in a game that's been mostly hit or miss. Now, I'll be honest, I know just as much about the Guilty Gear series as a toddler knows about space. It's there, it can be confusing, but god damn is it friggin' cool. A unique art style, cool characters, a rock and roll motif, and epic finishers. Then, Systemworks gave people a little more of what they love with the Rev 2 update for XR, including the return of fan-favorite Samurai Baiken and the newly playable ninja, Answer. Now, what really drew me into Answer is the same thing that I find intriguing about so much of the Guilty Gear cast. You take an idea, such as an interdimensional surgeon, a rock and roll witch, to even a businessman ninja. You take that idea and you don't just run with it. No, that's not enough. You take that idea and you go on a full-on sprint. I mean, everything about this character is dedicated to his theme. From his idle pose where he's always on the phone, to the business cards that he uses on shurikens, to even his play style that rewards players for using their setups, being patient, and planning out how you attack the opponent. It's so unique, it's so cool, and it's so interesting, it's very much Guilty. I mean, his scarf turns into a frickin' giant python. How can you not love this guy? Ghost Rider has always been amongst my favorite comic book characters, despite Marvel's efforts to change that. Nonetheless, I was ecstatic when he was brought into Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Hell, the only reason I picked up Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was because Strider and Ghost Rider were in the game. In the Marvel vs. Capcom games, Ghost Rider has always felt like a character that's good at drawing the opponent in and doing your damage at close range. The Space Stone adds an additional utility for him to draw the opponent in, and the new control scheme that they introduced in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite opened up his move list so they could introduce his quarter circle away kick. which is a chain barrage that you can end with a fiery punch that leads into a wall bounce, which you can then follow up with a continued combo or a special move or even a super move. He's a character that they brought back but didn't make him feel like same old, and didn't change the way a player would approach him, making him appeal to both new players and old players alike. Now, if only I actively played the game. Injustice 2 is definitely among my favorite games to come out of last year, and when the game first dropped, Swamp Thing was my go-to. Now, in Injustice 2, Swamp Thing isn't just one of the coolest characters in the game with some neat gear. No, he's also one of the most creative fighters to have come out of the year, being like a weird, floaty Zangief Dalsum hybrid. Not only fighting long range using vines, but he can grow entire trees from both his body and out of the ground itself. He can spawn a clone of himself mid-combo, and just to finish you off, he'll drag you down into the earth and pound you into stone. But I'll admit, as a fan of Swamp Thing, there's just one thing missing. Netherrealm. Where are the yams? Tekken 7 was probably the best fighting game to come out of 2017. It was fun to watch, fun to play, and had a great roster. Yet, if you were new to the series like myself, the game could feel intimidating. That is where Katarina comes in. Much like any character in Tekken 7, or any fighting game for that matter, they take time to learn and to use properly. Katarina just had a move list that was the most beginner friendly. Granted, I only picked her up because I made a Sea Viper costume for her, but as I started doing treasure battles with her, I found myself hooked on her Sparrow Kicks and her Harrier Cancels, which was great for me being new to the series and getting confused by some characters. This made Katarina one of the first characters I actually just set everything aside and just had fun with, which is really all you can ask for in a game. Before I get into the next fighter, think about what characters from the DC Comic Pantheon that would have been great in Injustice 2. Azrael, Silver Banshee, Static. Then Netherrealm comes completely out of left field and takes a character no one would have expected and makes them a fearsome opponent. When Scarecrow was first announced, I wasn't sold. I mean, the game has 10 Batman characters. 10! Then the game came out, and he turned out to be one of the coolest characters in the game. The way he animates, his brutal-looking combos, the Robert Englund voice.
The nightmare's just starting.
Everything about this character just screams, making him a pleasant surprise. A character I personally wasn't expecting to love, nonetheless that I cared about beforehand. He turned out to be a great damage dealer with some of the coolest gear and a super that will make your enemies scream. Speaking of cool-looking comic book characters with recognizable voices, easily one of the highlights of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite had to be the return of Venom. This leathery-skinned, symbiote-powered villain made his versus return after his last appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. 17 years ago? Jeez. Aside from that, what I really found made Venom such a cool addition to the MVCI roster was how faithful he was recreated into this new game. He has animations that were directly recreated and revised from Marvel vs. Capcom 2 into Infinite, as well as giving him some new moves that kept the character feeling fresh, but also made Nowhere feel safe from this alien behemoth. Much like Ghost Rider, what makes Venom so great in MVCI was taking what already made the character great and simply adding and improving it. King of Fighters 14 was easily the best fighting game of 2016. Fun, satisfying combos, a diverse roster of characters, and the ability to cancel supers into more super, in a similar fashion to the Street Fighter EX games, all make this game both fun to watch and to play. SNK would then later add to the fun with 4 new characters to a roster of already 50 characters. And out of the returning fan favorites, Vanessa turned into a must-have for my KOF team. Now, boxer characters never really grabbed my attention, but Vanessa isn't afraid to get up close and personal with the opponent, which I like in a fighter. In fact, a lot of her moves involve getting her closer to the opponent and deal damage. You have a move that helps extend your combo, releasing a flurry of attacks that can be easily cancelled into a super. She's a scrapper, she's great up close, and she's a lot of fun, making her one of my favorites to come out of the King of Fighters 14 DLC. Tekken 7 drew in new audiences, myself included, with its use of guest characters. You came for Akuma, but you stayed for Geese. Coming straight from the King of Fighters 14, Geese translated amazingly into the Tekken 3D arena style. Everything about him just oozes personality. He taunts the opponents with his fighting stance, because he doesn't even need to get in fighting position to intimidate you. Gameplay-wise, he can keep the opponent away with his fireballs just as well as he can get in. Then, once in, you have a variety of options, from parrying to flashy combos to tossing the opponent in the air. All of it tricky to learn, but so satisfying to pull off and watch unfold. Now, if only I could nail the deadly rave outside of training mode. Before we get to my number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. Just when you thought Killer Instinct was over, all of the classic characters had been released. Season 3 was over. The Shadow Lord Gargos was defeated. But Iron Galaxy, or Microsoft, wouldn't let Killer Instinct rest. 3 new fighters were released over the year of 2017. 2 fresh takes on pre-existing fighters, each with their own charm to separate them from their original counterparts. But only one was able to do the impossible. He dethroned Rash and became my new main in the game. Eagle, the lost brother of Thunder. But don't let that bow and arrow fool you. He is just as deadly up close as he is from a distance. In fact, some of the best damage I've gotten with the character is getting in on the opponent and using his arrows as combo enders. But I mostly rely on the slide to get in and use the medium backflip move in order to rake up the potential damage. You can use his Eagle Companion to retrieve whatever arrows you lose, or to swoop in on an unsuspecting opponent. I don't like a lot of archery characters. They're very hit or miss with me, because I don't like playing as characters that are strictly long range. But when I heard the Killer Instinct team was introducing an archer, I was on board. If anyone could make an archer interesting, it would be the Killer Instinct team. Not only did they nail the gameplay, but he is one of the coolest looking characters with a killer theme. He's fun, he's unique, and he's my favorite fighting game character of 2017. There it is, my top 10 fighting game characters of 2017. If you have any favorites, leave them in the comments below. Also, shout out to TheUnder for letting me use Ride or Die for the Scarecrow segment. If you want more Explain Later, subscribe to the channel and let me know. And if you have any friends that like fighting games, please like and share the video with them. Well, I gotta go work on an office to do mouth work in, so happy tubing, and I'll see you next time.